Yo guys, welcome back to the What's the Go podcast, where we talk everything about trades and draft. So let's go. So we've heard a little bit about the Todd Goldstein and Essendon situation. Like Todd Goldstein obviously preferring to go to Essendon when he's obviously because his contract's over with North Melbourne, and would probably be wanting to win a bit more games and have a bit of contention in finals. So what do you think? I want to know what's the go with that one. So obviously the free agency period opens on Friday 6th of October, and I think so does the draft. And I feel that a lot of free agents have been a bit unlucky this season not to be like picked up again or their contract being renewed. But we've got a few good options on the table. While the trade period does actually start on the 9th of October and ends about 18th of October. So put down below, who do you think would be a good free agency pickup for your team or draft period pickup? So with the AFL draft approaching rapidly, we have obviously you'd think your number one draft prospects would be your Harley Reids, who average about 2 goals a game, 18 disposals, sort of that. You'd think a cheeky Colby McKercher. But I've got a few behind the scenes players that you wouldn't have caught. So I have here a Zane Dersma, who was previously probably ranked about a 7th pick, who averages pretty much 3 goals a game and 19.5 disposals, which is actually better than the number one draft pick in fucking, what is it? Who's his name again? Bloody Harley Reid, my bad. And Jed Walter, who's got more goals, 4.5 goals a game, and 18.2 disposals. So I'm not sure if Harley Reid will slip in the draft, because obviously we've got Jed Walter, who's in number 2, and a pick 4 that of Zane Dersma that's doing better than Harley Reid. So it's a year of the Allies and Tasmania, who've got a new team, and the Allies obviously winning the NAB League, or whatever you call it. Colby McKercher, projected pick 3. He's rating about 30 disposals a game and 1.4 goals. So I think he can go up to second pick or first even. But it's a matter of if what North Melbourne or West Coast value in their players. Like, what do they really need? And I think obviously the forward, like the North Melbourne and North Melbourne's forward line is covered. They have a pretty good forward line, and West Coast midfield, I'd say it'll be a bit more strengthened next season, obviously because of the amount of injuries they've had. But I think Colby McKercher is definitely a pick for number 1. So, projected pick number 4. It's a player who wasn't playing for in the under-18 championship or NAB League. He's played for Claremont in the Waffle, averaging 17.2 disposals and 4 marks a game as a defender, which I think is pretty good. He obviously he's a tall, 93 kilos, a bit more of a beefing up for him, I think. And then he could slide right into wherever who's picking there. Right, so Nate Caddy projected at number 6, the niece of his uncle Josh Caddy, or whatever his name is, that was a premiership player for Richmond. And he's a forward midfielder, 192 centimetres, 91 kilos. He's played 8 games in the Talent League, 17 disposals on average, and 3 goals. So he's projected 6, but I reckon he can go up to a 5th or a 4. So we have projected at number 7, Riley Sanders, who's actually like a Crows, around the Crows pick. He played for Sandringham, midfielder, and he averages 32.3 disposals and 7 clearances, which is very strong for a 7 pick. He was a Lark medalist for the national championship, and that includes some like wild names as Sam Welsh and Christian Petrarca. And I think he's a very good contested midfielder, and I think he can slide good into the Crows where that pick is around and make a good player. So obviously I've been talking about Tasmania and how they have a lot of talent. Well, this guy, James Leake, who's sneaked off the crop, he's was average about 40th pick, but he's now pushing for around 1. He's 188 centimetres, 74 kilos, and he's played for Tasmania in the Coates League, and I don't think he had a feature in the national championships, which is surprising. He played school footy with St Pat's and was really pushed for that round 1, and I think he can get it. And after watching a few of his games, I see that he has a real good fourth quarter, on average gets about 15 or 2 goals in the fourth quarter or 10 disposals. That's good for a forward and has real good athleticism and decision making, which is what a few clubs probably need at this stage. So, enough of that draft stuff. Let's get on back onto the trade. So, Marby Yorkshire, obviously, he's had a stint at Richmond. He's pretty successful there. Had a trade to Gold Coast, who he's at currently. Featured in the VFL Grand Final, and I think he was unlucky to be in the AFL team, AFL team for longer. And Adelaide and Brisbane are among the clubs who are circling Marby Yorkshire, and the Gold Coast forwards potentially set to be on the move again. But it's obviously with Damien Hardwick going to Gold Coast as their coach for next season, it'll be a bit harder to get Marby Yorkshire over, obviously with the success Marby Yorkshire have with Damien Hardwick. But you never know. So we're finished with the draft, the just normal trade period. Now we're going to the free agency period. And there's a few surprising free agents that you wouldn't expect to be there. So there's 103 free agents at the end of 2023. And the major one that I'm surprised is Darcy Parish. And honestly, I can agree with Ben Mackay. I think if he's playing backline, he's coughed up a bit of goals, and I don't see why they should renew his contract. But obviously, some of the bigger names in Jade Gresham, Harry Himmelberg, and Tom Doedee, I'm surprised with this. Jade Gresham has been great for Saints. Harry Himmelberg has been good as well. His brother, obviously not so good over at the Crows. He's free agent as well. Well, not free agent, but he's wanting to move to the Giants with him. But I don't see it happening if he's a free agent. And Tom Doedee is the one I'm so surprised about, obviously as a Crows supporter as well. Tom Doedee has led their backline, probably should have been captain for this year, and I think he deserves a trade, obviously with Brisbane Lions and Collingwood both wanting him. I don't see why they shouldn't renew his contract. So that is going to be the end of the first episode of the What's the Go podcast. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll be back with some more. See ya.